All right, everyone, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to tear apart one of the most fascinating and honestly brutal power systems I've ever come across from the world of Eternal Divinity. This isn't your typical magic system with spells and fireballs. Nope. This is about the very architecture of reality and the terrifying cost of ripping it all down. So, let's begin the dissection.
Our whole journey starts with this single, chilling line from our protagonist, Alaric. It just sets the stage perfectly, doesn't it? Power in this universe isn't something you win or you wear like a crown. It's something you dismantle, piece by piece, both in the world around you and, way more importantly, inside yourself.
So, where do we even start an autopsy like this? Well, we start at the very bottom, in what the lore calls the physical strata. This is our world, the world of blood and bone. But here's the critical twist. It is not nearly as solid as it looks.
See, the entire system is built on this hierarchy, like a ladder of existence you have to climb. You start with the physical stuff. Then you move up to the mental, where your own will can literally create illusions. Then you hit the celestial, where things like true names hold immense power. And finally, you get to the ontological thrones. That's where you don't just use the rules of reality, you become one.
The whole system, the whole shebang, hinges on this one crucial principle. Reality is basically just a collective agreement. We all agree that a stone is hard, so it's hard. But what happens if you, just you, personally decide to disagree? What if you just look at something and say, "Nope, I deny that"?
And we see this in action almost right away, and it's wild. Alaric hears a bell toll for the 12th time, and he just decides, false. And the result isn't just in his head. The sound itself physically breaks. It bends and contorts in the air. A simple act of will is enough to literally fracture the physical world.
Okay, but a power like that, there's no way it's free, right? Of course not. Every single time you deny reality, every time you break the rules, it takes something from you. It exacts this terrible, deeply personal price.
Alaric's own words right here capture the absolutely terrifying commitment it takes to climb that ladder. I mean, this is basically a mission statement for self-destruction. It's a promise to erase your own history, your own humanity, until there's nothing left but the raw, focused power of denial.
And here it is, the core transaction at the heart of everything. Memories are the literal fuel for this power. To deny the sound of that bell, you might have to trade the memory of your mother's face. To deny a wound, you might have to forget your first love. You are constantly selling off pieces of your soul to gain influence over the world. So this brings us to the competitive part of things. Once you start meddling with reality, the powers that be notice you, and you get entered into a series of games. And let's be clear, this is not an invitation. It's a sentencing. For this particular contest, 4 players are chosen, and each one is basically an archetype of brokenness. You've got the cynic who trusts nothing, the survivor who only trusts her own pain, the victim who's paralyzed by fear, and then Alaric, who's already seen way too much of the machinery behind the curtain of reality.
And wow, do they clarify the stakes fast. Just look at Matthias here. In the very first game, he fails to deny his own name when challenged. And he's unmade. He doesn't just die, poof. He is erased from existence, like he never was. That's what failure looks like here.
As the games go on, the survivors, the ones left standing, start to figure it out. The point isn't just to survive the games. The point is to use the horrible trials to accelerate your own self-destruction, to burn away your memories and your sense of self even faster, to get even more powerful.
So what happens to the ones who succeed? The ones who actually manage to strip themselves down to absolutely nothing? Well, the prize isn't a crown. It's not a kingdom. It's a throne. And becoming a throne is described as this horrifying transformation, like a kind of purposeful self-mutilation.
See, this is the part that just gets me. It's not about becoming more, it's about becoming less. It's about hollowing yourself out so completely that a fundamental concept of reality can just slot itself into the void that you've created inside you.
And our first 2 winners show us exactly what this looks like. Dietrich, the cynical banker who saw identity as just a tool, becomes a throne of infinite hollow selves, a walking prison. Sophia, who clung to her trauma, becomes a living archive of all memory, literally drowning in the pasts of everyone else. They turned their greatest wound into a universal law.
Alaric, though, having given up more than anyone, he takes the final, most terrifying path. He doesn't choose to become a thing. He chooses the empty throne. He becomes subtraction itself. He is the void, where things simply cease to be.
So just when you think you understand the endgame, just as these new gods are settling into their horrifying new power, the entire board gets flipped. An entirely new entity shows up, someone who was never part of the game. An unforeseen judge.
And this is the question that just hangs in the air. These players fought and bled and erased themselves to get to this point, to this pinnacle of power. But what if the pinnacle wasn't the end? What if it was just another trap?
The Black Witness isn't here to play. He's not a player, he's not an arbiter. He's a mirror. His only purpose is to show up and offer testimony on what the thrones have actually become. And his testimony, his words, have the power to shatter them completely.
And with this, oh man, this absolutely devastating line he drops on Alaric. He reframes their entire journey, their ascension, their victory. It's actually a grotesque failure, one that threatens the very concept of meaning in the entire cosmos. They haven't become gods. They've become cosmic cancers.
And that kicks off the real final game. This isn't a contest of power anymore. It's a confrontation with the truth. The thrones are forced to look into that mirror the witness is holding up, and the one thing they can't do is deny what they see.
And one by one, everything they thought made them powerful is revealed to be their biggest weakness. Dietrich's legion of selves? Just infinite hiding places for a coward. Sophia's endless archive of memory? It's just a monument to her inability to forgive herself. And Alaric's ultimate, all-consuming void? Turns out it's just a cheap copy of a much older, much truer silence.
And that brings us to the final, brutal punchline of this entire system. The whole cosmic struggle, the games, the denial, the becoming a god, it was all just noise. It was all a temporary distraction from the one true force in the universe. A silence so profound, so absolute, that it simply consumes everything else.
And that's the really unsettling idea we're left to chew on. It suggests that being and consciousness and reality, they aren't the standard state of things. They are a fleeting anomaly, a brief interruption. The default is nothingness, which leaves us with a final, haunting question about the nature of our own existence.